these are heavy hitters that you're talking about. This is you you're becoming more rare and rare because these are the people that have set the world on fire with their art. And please continue because this is a fascinating time, not only in American society, but especially in the entertainment world.
Well, one of the biggest stars in the world is named Bruce Springsteen. And when I went to work for Columbia Records in July of 72, in 1973, so 6 months later, Bruce Springsteen released his first album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. And then at the end of 1973, he released The Wild, the Innocent, and the East Street Shuffle. And those records, both released in the same year, were his introduction to the world. And even though those records were not the records that, or not as popular as I thought they might be, they did set up the release of his third album, which was Born to Run. And that's when Bruce Springsteen really was on the cover of Time and Newsweek. And I brought something with me today that I thought might be a really interesting thing to read to your audience.
Heinz has props, everyone, and you're going to be fascinated by this.
This is a book written by one of America's great poets, Sam Shepard, the Rolling Thunder logbook. And he was a part of the Rolling Thunder Review, and I was head of album promotion at Columbia Records and promoting Blood on the Tracks and the Desire album, and spent quite a bit of time in and out of the Rolling Thunder Review, which was an unpredictable situation, to say the least. But I'd like to read a quote by T-Bone Burnett, who was a member of the Rolling Thunder Review.
By all means.
I remember just before the encounter where he met Bob Dylan, which Sam relates in the chapter called The First Superstar. The first superstar was actually, I know now and knew then, as Louis Armstrong. Bob Dylan was sitting in a chair reading a Time magazine, the cover of which predicted the next Bob Dylan. I asked Bob how that was, having all those next Bob Dylans. He said, every little bit helps. That singer, of course, turned out to be something other than the next anything. He turned out to be the actual Bruce Springsteen.
This is fantastic. This is so intriguing what you just read. Heinz, at one point, I may have this wrong. You know, we talked over the years, and you would tell me all about these people, these Bruce Springsteens and the Bob Dylan, who I like these people. But this Bruce Springsteen in particular, at one point, they were ready to give him the boot, so to speak. Can you believe it? So tell the world about what you saw when they were about ready to kick him off the label. Yeah, you find that hard to believe.
There was discussion. Good question. There was discussion in 1974 after the first two albums had done okay. They got good reviews, but they didn't necessarily weren't blockbusters sales-wise. However, Blinded by the Light was recorded by Manfred Mann, and it became, quote-unquote, Bruce Springsteen's first number one by someone else, number one on the Billboard charts. But there was a meeting where myself and a guy that I worked for named Steve Popovich, who was the head of promotion, and I worked for him as the head of album promotion, we had to pound on a table and say, how many people in this room had seen Bruce Springsteen, had gone out to see a Bruce Springsteen concert? And there weren't that many hands that went into the air. And so we said, well, I think we should table that question until you can come back and report, did you go? Now what do you think? Because Bruce Springsteen really was a fabulous live attraction, which helped set up the third album, which became Born to Run. And so the label did give him a token amount of money to go back to the studio, and the song he recorded was Born to Run. And then the powers that be, if you will, were saying that the song was too long. And I said, I don't think you're right, but let me just say that I think that this is an anthem.
Now you're speaking to him himself. Are you saying this to him, or
No, I'm saying this to label.
brass?
I want to say presidents and vice presidents, but there were a group of approximately a dozen to 2 dozen people in this meeting. So we did get people to go out to see him. Things changed. He got the money to make a new song, make a recording of the new song, which was Born to Run. And then, of course, people complained that it wasn't really the song. And so what I did was I decided to do a clandestine approach to promoting this record by making reel-to-reel tape copies of this with no CBS ID and sending them to key radio stations around the country.
Wait a minute. You did this on your own?
Yes, I definitely risked incurring either a major slap on the wrist or being asked to leave, but I did.
And Mr. Springsteen knew about this?
Mr. Springsteen didn't initially, but this was creating a real groundswell behind this. And I remember taking a trip to Los Angeles, which, there was very little Bruce Springsteen airplay west of the Mississippi. And so we were able to get some airplay in Phoenix, and we were able to get some airplay in San Francisco. But Los Angeles, major, obviously, radio market, major market for just about anything. You want them included in whatever product you're launching, if you will. I took a trip out there when the album had been completed, and I played Born to Run for the program director and the music director. And the program director left midway through the playing of the album, and the music director, a woman by the name, it's hard to forget, Deborah Horribuckle.
Oh, what a lovely name.
Well, anyway, she wasn't so lovely when she said Bruce Springsteen is just mumbling on this album.
Oh, the great mumbler.
The great mumbler.
Oh, she was right on the money, wasn't she? Yeah.
So in those days, a valid way to communicate, as opposed to texting today, would be to send a telegram. So when we released the album, and the album went top 10 in Billboard, Cashbox, and Record World, I sent her a telegram that said Bruce Springsteen just mumbled his way into the top 10.
That's brilliant.
So they did add 3 songs from it, and the rest is history.
Good for you. This is a fantastic story. Your instincts, over these years that I've known you, we're such close friends, a family, really. And these stories... these are the stories that most people out there have never heard. I mean, they've heard the periphery of these stories. And now with this Bruce Springsteen, there was something else that you did with the live shows. Something with tickets and live, but you really were instrumental in some of these early live shows. And
we did some really landmark live recordings of Bruce Springsteen, and they're played often on his Sirius satellite radio channel, excerpts, songs from these live recordings.
But also in a promotional way, where something with tickets, and you would, almost like, not for free, but there was something, I remember back in the day you telling me this, and setting up these early gigs to get the people to come.
Yes, I always invited key people in media to come to the shows. And it got to the point where Bruce and I had to talk about it. There were too many media people in the first 10 rows. So we had to figure out that if the people were being invited, that there were 10 rows of heads in front of them. So there were, it wasn't a setup. It wasn't the critics that were in the first 10 rows.
So was there a moment, a special moment just between the two of you that you can recall, maybe on a subway or sitting in the studio, maybe he's like, Madison Square Garden?
Well, there was an interesting, I invited him to opening day at Yankee Stadium. And we took the subway to Yankee Stadium, and no one really recognized him at this point. And we sat down in the seats that I had, a box at Yankee Stadium, 4 seats. And there were 2 gentlemen sitting behind us and who recognized him. And one of them tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Is that Bruce Springsteen?" Now, again, it's opening day at Yankee Stadium. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. And I said, "It is." And he goes, "You mind if, I speak to him?" I went, "Be my guest. I don't know." So he did tap Bruce, and Bruce looked at me and went, "Come on." I said, I didn't, he recognized you. So these are, fans obviously started, this is, 1975. No, this would be 76. This would be, opening day in Yankee Stadium in 76. And, we always knew that he was the greatest live act. We just have to capture it on record, and he certainly.
He was known for these concerts that seemingly never ended.
It's true. He told wonderful stories, and just gave you a glimpse as to what it must have been like growing up on the Jersey Shore, and still lives there. This is where he grew up. This is.
He was born in the USA.
He was born in the USA.
Hello.
And in fact, the first time I heard "Born in the USA" was an acoustic version of "Born in the USA." So that was written for for a film, and he has over the years recorded various arrangements of songs, and then of course the one that everybody identifies with, of course, is with the E Street Band.
Oh, it's very popular. Now, did he have any quirks? Did he like to eat Kartoffelchips? Did he like to eat ice cream? Was he some guy like that?
We always had great meals together. For example, when we were in Miami Beach, Joe's Stone Crab was a great classic restaurant at the very bottom of Miami Beach. And it started as a shack, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And of course, they didn't take reservations. It's first come, first serve. It was a very low-key kind of place that became popular. But I called ahead because I always ate there when I was in Miami, or tried to anyway, and said, it's going to be me plus Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band, so me plus 19. And the guy goes, "Well," I said, "we're showing up, so you better find a big table or a couple of big tables for us." So things like that. When we were in New Orleans, we went to Pascal Manali's, that was very famous for their barbecued shrimp. So we always really tried to have a great meal together with the band.
Well, this is fantastic. And so you're living a dream at this point. You around
I
artists,
am.
and you're really lifting them up. Really, maybe.
It was reciprocal. They lifted me up.
Yeah.
I was enthralled by the wonderful world of music that I was working with. I work with so many great artists. You could, whether it's Johnny Cash or Leonard Cohen or Billy Joel or Weather Report, I could go down this list of great artists that we had. And in fact, there was a meeting once where someone said, and I had mentioned, I said, we seem to be taking over a station down in Washington, D.C. called WHFS. And they said, taking over. The guy's playing everything we have. I said, we have great records.
You have the best records, actually.
We did have some great records.
I have gone down your resume so much over the years, and we've had these discussions. You know, these people, wonderful people out there, don't realize how deep this goes. I mean, I have this little prop right here. It's a book. I mean, it's the '70s, but he's been into the '80s and the '90s. But I love the '70s myself, to tell you the truth. I mean, look, you got the John Travolta, you got the Bruce Springsteen, you got the Pink Floyd, you got the Led Zeppelin, you got all this crazy stuff. And like a lot of these people, you either worked with or you knew, and I like this Pink Floyd. You know, I know we bounce around. Folks, we like to bounce around. That's what we do.